transness in the past decade has become so unregulated that anybody can self-identify anyhow they want.
Today on Rainbow Country, a spotlight on 1980s queer British artist Alana Pillay, who rose to prominence in the 1980s first by being on the British comedy TV show The Comic Strip Presents and the 1987 dark comedy film Eat the Rich. In 1991, Alana Pillay was featured in the top 10 UK singles hit Human Nature by Gary Clayle. But what really put Alana Pillay on the map was their 1986 hit single, Pistol in My Pocket, produced by hitmakers Stock, Aitken, and Waterman.
Hi, I'm Christopher Rice, and this is Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Alana, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you, Mark. How are you?
I am well, Alana. Thank you for being here to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for this. Okay, let's just jump right in.
Well, it's nice to be interviewed for a change by somebody who's well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I never thought the day would come.
You are a recording artist. You are a theater and cabaret performer, an actor, an entertainer. Your very first single, Pistol in My Pocket, released in 1986.
Yeah.
Your most recent single, 2025's Winter of Love. Your first single, Pistol in My Pocket, was produced by the production team of Stock, Aitken, and Waterman, charted internationally, including in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, was a #1 dance floor hit. My understanding, Alana, is that Pistol in My Pocket essentially came about because of a meeting that you had with Pete Waterman in his office. Talk to me about this meeting, how it came about, and how this fantastic song, Pistol in My Pocket, may have come about because of this meeting. Talk to me about what happened in that meeting.
Well, let's see.
Because I know that there's a bigger story, but talk to me about that meeting in particular.
I'll try and be succinct. So anyway, Jane County, the legendary rock and roll transsexual singer-performer, Jane County, formerly Wayne County of the Electric Chairs, came to London, stayed with me for what was going to be 2 weeks, ended up as 3 months. And she was friends with Pete Burns, who I'd met. I'd met Pete Burns in Liverpool in the late 70s, actually, because when I came out of the kids' home in Grimsby Town, where I was born. Did you know I was born in the darkest parts? Grimsby Town in Lincolnshire. And so I'd met Pete very briefly when he was a hairdresser in Liverpool. And it was very different then. Anyway, Jane was friends with him. And this was 1983. And they'd come down to London, dead or alive, and we're recording in a studio in Soho. So we went down there to have a cup of tea with them and a bit of a natter. And I loved what they were doing. And I thought, and then I saw Pete on Top of the Pops with Dead or Alive. And I thought, oh, I don't want to be them, but I want to be like them, meaning that I wanted my own hit. I wanted my own signature. And so anyway, come 1985, I was in the Comic Strip Presents on Channel 4 at the time with Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders. Jennifer Saunders from the Absolutely Fabulous series with Joanna Lumley. And they were my erstwhile colleagues. And I was in the Comic Strip on the new Channel 4. And I was getting a lot of attention. And I just thought, well, I'm a multifaceted performer. and personality. I need to have my own, I need to be doing a bit more. I need to, play on those other strings on this bow. So I decided what I'll do is I'll just unannounced go to Vineyard Studios in the borough in London, where Stock Aitken and Waterman, Pete Waterman, was based. And I went in there. I think I must have been walking like Mae West. Oh, oh, oh. And I said to Pete, I've got this track. You're going to love it, Pete. It's called Surrender Your Gender. So I started singing this punk track, Surrender Your Gender, a gender bender, because it was all gender bending in the 80s, that period. And so Pete nearly fell off his chair in hilarious laughter. And I was staring at him thinking, how rude when I'm being really
You were being serious.
Yes, And so anyway, he said, listen, Al, I don't think that's, it's a good tune, nice concept, but I don't think it's going to get Radio 1 airplay. He said, so leave it with me and I'll be in touch with you. So anyway, 2 weeks came by. Didn't hide the hair from him. So I gave him a ring and I said, so I thought you were getting in touch with me, Pete. And he said, yes, come in tomorrow. We've written a song for you. It's called Pistol in My Pocket. So I went into the studio, was there for about 4 hours recording, I got a pistol in my pocket, baby. So obviously I'd influenced him to get his writers what they called, God, isn't that awful?
Morrison you inspired them.
Inspired them. Morrison Washburn, and they wrote this Pistol in My Pocket for Lana Pillay, and Sheila Ferguson of the 3 Degrees did all the additional vocals on it. Like that. There's a segment in there that goes, is that a pistol in your pocket? A pistol in your pocket? Or are you just pleased to see me? Well, that's not me. That's Sheila Ferguson. I mean, I've done it recently on, other mixes of it consequently. But so that was Sheila, and she did all the backing vocals on it. And so that's really how it came to fruition. I remember that Rick Astley, famous singer now, he used to be the T-boy in the studios. And Kylie and Jason had turned up a couple of times to do stuff in, various studios at Vineyard. So anyway, that's all that, how that all came to, how it all manifested and came to fruition.
When you heard the song, when you heard the track, what were your initial thoughts? Do you remember the initial feeling that you had?
Well, I thought, it just sounds like Dead or Alive. But then I thought, well, Al, you've always been more alive than dead, so get on with it. And, it was one of the few opportunities in my life that I was awake to. There is some, the universe would have, it was as if like the universe was saying, don't be missing this one, kid. Jump onto it. Yes. I mean, and then there was after that, of course, I recorded with I Can Make a Man Out of You, a track.
That was your follow-up single.
Yeah.
Did you feel supported by? Were you signed to a record company at that time, or just like to individual singles?
No, well, I was signed to Stock Aitken and Waterman at the time.
And did you feel supported by them in terms of promoting you and getting your music out and your visuals out and who you were and are?
Well, I think I'd have gone a lot further had I not been, so fractious, and had I had more of a stable view of life, really, because I was really quite, let's say, emotionally labile at the time. So, but they supported me as much as they could, but like with all record companies, you have to keep your eye on the ball, you know. But certainly their promotional department worked me a lot. I mean, I was working up to 7 nights a week doing PAs of it all over the country. I nearly came to Canada and I nearly came to Australia, except interviewers like Molly Meldrum from Australia's Countdown actually came over to meet me in London. So I think that was a way of the record company saving on the handbag, flights and expenses of that. Um, but
And the music video for Pistol in My Pocket. What a
yes,
fun, great video. They've done an upscale version, an HD version that people can watch and enjoy on YouTube. It features Lee Bowery, who you knew and has an he made you some clothes.
yeah, well, the thing is, Lee was I was the first person Lee Bowery met when he came to London. It was 1981, and I used to have an ex-Harry Krishna friend who lived at the top of a really high, one of those big high Georgian houses opposite Hyde Park, Buckingham Palace. And I used to go round to Trevor to have his prashadam, which is what the Harry Krishnas call food. And so I went round one lunch, and after I'd finished lunch and, you know, uh, left, was leaving Trevor's, I saw like this big sort of, well, I can only describe him as in the language that we used to use in the 80s, as a big puffy type blonde bleach hairdresser, all in black, with puff mutton leg shirt sleeves and that. Anyway, it was just struggling carrying loads of black bin liner bags and suitcases. And I said, "Here, do you need some help, love?" And he said, "Oh, if you wouldn't mind," and like his good eye Australian accent. And I'm terrible at Australian accents. And even though I've had quite a bit of Australian in me on occasion, but you think I'd be able to speak it fluently with my eyes closed. But anyway, so I helped him in with with all his luggage. And I said, "Oh, if you move from another house?" He said, "No, I've just moved here from Australia." And he nattered and he said, "Oh, you remind me of Shirley Bassey." And I just immediately went into Shirley Bassey and said, "Well, is there something in the way I move?" And so we both laughed at that. And, it was a nice connection. And then about 2 years later, I got a telephone call. I was in the comic strip on Channel 4. I got a telephone call at my home, and it was Lee. And he said, "Oh, do you remember me?" And of course I do. "What are you doing now?" "Oh, well, I'm doing fashion and I'd like to make some outfits and stuff." And I said, "Oh, well, I'd love it." Met up with him in his Tower Hamlets flat. He used to live in a council flat, Tower Hamlets, with Star Trek wallpaper, and we became great friends. And he made me about 180 outfits in my time knowing him. I was a muse of Lee's, one of his first muse. I used to assist him when he was doing photo shoots for greeting cards and that, and it just lasted until it run out of track, really. Um, and I think Lee's pathology on some levels got the better of him and it put me off him. But I did like the good times that Lee and I had. I did like the times, the long, long Sunday afternoons we used to have, just chatting, edifying talk from him teaching me the piano, him teaching me how you cut fabric, egg and cress sandwiches on brown Hovis from Lipton's. That was Lee. Pots of Earl Grey tea. Just madness, really. Yeah. And so that was my connection with Lee. And of course, recently there'd been a very big tribute to him at the Tate Modern on the South Bank, which I featured quite prominently in. I mean, they had the video of Pistol in My Pocket in there on its own screen. And that certainly opened me up to a new generation of sort of club kids who want to have fun and dress up. But that video was actually made by John Mabry, the filmmaker. It was part of our gang, Taboo Gang in the 80s. And John had done the, what's the name, Sinead O'Connor video of Prince when she covered Prince's Nothing Compares to You. He'd done that one. And he'd done mine. So, what more can you ask for?
So, Alana, we're talking about yourself. We're talking about your music, your influence, essentially who you are. You were just talking about 1986's Pistol in My Pocket. We're currently here in modern times. It's 2026. And we're still talking about Pistol in My Pocket because in 2025, it was part of a 5 CD compilation from Disco Discharge Presents More Sin, full-length gay clubbing 1980 to 1989. Generally speaking, what are your thoughts on your music and who you are and all that you represent being introduced to a whole new crowd? What are your thoughts on that, generally speaking?
Well, everything old is new again, isn't it? And also you can't, if you want to be really that cool, you've got to acknowledge and pay homage to tradition and that which went before, I think, and well, I just think it's great to stay buoyant. I mean, I'm doing new music, but of course, you have to. It's like when you wake up in the morning. You have to give thanks in a very spiritual way, not necessarily religious, but in a very spiritual way. Connect your spirit with and align it with the vibration of the universe and say and thank it for what you already have, in order for new stuff to come
your
in.
way.
Yes.
I want to ask you this question, and I hope you'll go here with me, because for me, I am androgynous. This is just who I am. I'm multiracial.
Oh God, you can't tell.
But that's just who I am innately. I mean, back in the 80s, you had terms like transsexual. For yourself, do you feel today, with terms like gender non-binary or being transgender, do you feel like you've always been ahead of the curve, so to speak, but society has sort of caught up now? Have you always felt, sort of, I don't want to say out of step, but have you always felt like you've been ahead of the curve, and because of that have faced societal issues or that sort of thing, especially when it comes to gender and gender identity?
Well, listen, I was a teenager in the 70s, and the mores of the times, 70s, 80s, even 60s, were very much different hostile wise. I mean, it was my generation and generations that preceded mine that fought for the gains that this generation
Absolutely.
enjoys today. We fought for all these kings and queens to wear their crowns with pride today. And it was our generations and the generations before that took most and all of the pain. When I early in life, I always felt so misaligned with my body that I mistook it for it being a transsexual issue rather than a spiritual one. And in 1984, I was actually diagnosed with transsexualism. And but in the what you say contravening years, doing work on myself, having deep hypnotherapy, it's been revealed to me, that I am a naturally androgynous, epicene, hyper effeminate natal male. So I'm not transsexual at all. I don't actually get non-binary other than it being a trendy thing to be.
That's what I don't. I've asked guests that have come on the show, and in their bio they might say they're gender non-binary, and I ask them, if you're neither male nor female and you don't identify with either of those, what do you identify with? How do you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And being gender non-binary is almost like the absence of both. But then, who are you?
Well, what has happened, Mark, is that transness in the past decade has become so unregulated that anybody can self-identify anyhow they want. Now, as far as I'm concerned, people say to me, but Lana, you're a woman. You're a woman. You're more like a woman than some of the women I know. And I'm like, well, I can't help my energy. And yeah, you could say that I'm, like a woman. But for me to say that I am an actual woman is insanity in my mind. I am a hyper effeminate, naturally androgynous epicene. The word epicene, it means having characteristics of both sexes. But that doesn't make me a woman or stop me from being a male. And I just think, and I'm just really so sick of the whole trans debate and conversation, because for me, it's just been hijacked. I mean, real transsexual communities in the past decades have been gate crashed by trans radical fascists, who tend to be straight geezers claiming to be lesbian, crashing real women's spaces. I'm sorry, but that projects negatively on the rest of us, especially people like us who are just natal, naturally androgynous. It impacts negatively on the whole LGBT community.
But I think too, it's fair to say that there are people that have gender dysphoria, and they're truly, like you said earlier, they feel truly out of alignment, and they're truly transgender. Because
and they'll go to extremes. I mean, I believe that my transsexualism was a trauma response, to abused childhood, having to go into a home, seeing the girls being treated better, than me, and thinking, oh, well, if I become a girl, I'll get treated nice. It's, as a child, children will find all kinds of escape routes if they're being abused. And I think that was certainly pertinent to my early life and period. But yes, of course, but the 1%, and I don't care, what people say, because I know, having experienced that, transsexualism is a mental disorder. Now, just because somebody has a mental disorder doesn't mean to say that they're a psychopath, but you can't say that to trans radical fascists because they're irrational, and they don't want to have the debate. It's like their backs are up. It's like truth is their enemy. Well, I'm sorry, but, facts are facts, and it's all this demand, you must accept us for what we are. Well, why are you asking everyone to accept you for what you are when you can't even accept yourself for what you were? So let's not even go there. But I will always, I'm not part of the trans fight. I don't embrace trans ideology. I believe that there are only two biological sexes, male and female. I think there are, 0 tons of myriad genders, but there are infinite personalities. All right, most of them deranged, including my own. But I just don't, I don't embrace this ideology because I think it's been a psychogenic epidemic, and a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon because they've found their slice of the victim pie, and that's what they're playing out. And because my generation and generations before fought for the gains, it's like they've had nothing really to fight for. So the only thing that they're suffering from, as far as I'm concerned, is not real gender dysphoria, like the 1 real percent. The only thing that the trans types are suffering is oppression, envy, as far as I'm concerned, because they've got to have something to scream and cry about. This is what I've found in my findings. So I just don't believe it. I'm just unconvinced.
And those are your honest thoughts and opinions. But let's let's talk about love. Let's talk about Winter of Love.
Oh, yes, because that
is your 2025 release, your current single. Talk to me about the song and what it represents. Winter of Love.
Well, Winter of Love. I'd had a knee replacement operation in 2018, and I was here in Primrose Hill, London, in the apartment, and it was a miserable October afternoon, dark, and the brown and gold and red leaves were blowing all around. It was quite, it reminded you of autumn in New York, basically. It started off good in the morning, like that autumn sunshine, crisp sunshine, blue skies. And but anyway, it got grayer and grayer in the afternoon, and I was in quite a bit of pain, and I just thought, rather than have more morphine, what should I do to take my mind off this? And so I just started humming this tune, Winter of Love, burning in my heart. And I was obviously thinking about Christmas, one of my very, very favorite times of the year. And and then I just started penning the lyrics: winter of love, burning in my heart, winter of love, shining like a star. And so I got so far, and then I got what I called stuck in the snow. And so I rang a friend, David, the rock musician, David Ryder Prangley. Will you please come and help me out with this song? And I'll give you, half the royalties if you help us. So anyway, we wrote the song together in the end, Winter of Love. And then come September last year, I thought, we really need to, get this recorded and get it out before Christmas. So it was a real rush. And we recorded it over at Holloway Studios there, and Plastic Sound Studios, Holloway. And then we got Pearl Drop Productions steward, really fantastic. Simon Mercer and his team at Pearl Drops did a really fantastic video to accompany it. And then Heritage Chart Show wanted it to put in their countdown to Christmas. And it did quite well. I think it went in at 87, got to about 42. So that wasn't bad. And I thought, oh, well, I hope, we get like a real AAA list artist liking it and wanting to do a version of it. So, that's always a dream. It's always a dream to have it on a film, soundtrack. It has that feel to it. So anyway, a song that came out of post-surgery pain, and also reminiscence of all those loved ones that had gone before, because I part of my belief is spiritualism. And I view death as a fiction. I mean, obviously, it's quite upsetting when that happens, because we're in the human condition, and we have human receptors and emotions. But from my personal experiences, and for others that I've listened to, I actually, I see death as a fiction, almost as a knower, when you know something, as a knower. So, so it was very reminiscent of that, because also I remember sort of spooky experience while I was writing parts of it in here. Nice warm kind of presence. So it was that, and I think it's open to interpretation. I mean, some people would interpret it as a loved one that had passed away at Christmas, a loved one that had gone away through, breakup. Somebody said to me actually only the other day that he thought of all the friends he'd missed through AIDS, not only in the 80s and 90s, but also more recently, even, with PrEP and what have you, medication. So it's really open to interpretation. But it's just fulfilling that people like it, and also are quite surprised that I can write a song occasionally.
So, Alana, I just have a couple minutes left with you, but I want to end here. Quote: "Give in, give out, but don't give up, unquote.
Yeah.
That's essentially, I guess, your life motto. Here's my last question for you. What do you hope audiences come away with after they've heard your music, after they've seen your videos, they've experienced Alana? What do you hope audiences come away with?
Well, I hope people see me as a universal type of performer and being. Also, in spite of this sort of monolithic political climate, when we're all supposed to embrace something that's forced on us, that I'm a vehement individual that has their own mind, that is a vehement critical thinker. I know, like, it's popular, there's a popular phrase that says, stand in your own truth. Well, I do stand in the truth of who I am, and I will always do so, even if it means standing alone. I hope people will appreciate my candor and the fact that such a theatrical creature am I. I'm not that glitzy and showbiz and intimidated in order not to say the things that I truly feel. I just hope that they, appreciate my artistry and honesty, and I just think that you've really just got to be your authentic self, and have people hate you for what you really are rather than love you for what you're really not. I think adversity introduces a person to themselves, and I've certainly had a lot of that. I mean, people can only be alienated from me if the truth is their enemy. So, it's up to people. I'm not the I'm not the thinker inside their heads, or hearts. It's entirely up to them. But so long as I can always be honest, and so long as I can always be the type of person that tries to do whatever good they can from wherever they are with whatever they've got, then, that's fine by me.
Well said. Well said. Alana, well said, well done, well recorded. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Bless you, Mark. Thank you ever so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. It was a pleasure to see your picture looking so Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. Actually, you look like one of the Sisters Sledge.
I love them.
Yeah, you look fantastic, Mark.
Thank you.
And hopefully, if ever you come over to London, you'll get in touch with me so we can have a cuppa and a plate of fish and chips.
Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.